Okay. So gesund.
Thank you.
Wie gesund. Did I go out? No. Okay, there we are. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Alrighty. Okay, folks. Welcome to Tanya Today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We say hello to many faithful Tanya learners. We say hello to Keith, New York City. Welcome. John in North Carolina, welcome. Diane is with us in London, Ontario. And Michael in Germany. Iyer from, not certain, but welcome. Rena is in Colorado with us. Daniel, welcome. Carlos in Costa Rica. Eddie is with us in Washington State. Eugenia in Calgary. Elise in Niagara. Okay, Niagara Falls it is, I would imagine. David in Gold River, California. Nice and dark. Stan, welcome in Fort Myers, Florida. Natina's in Canada. Davida Liba in New York. Good morning. And Susan in Scranton is with us, Pennsylvania. Steve in Dallas. Celeste Chava in Colorado. Tim in Texas, Boker Tov. Daphne in South Carolina, welcome. Jesse is in New Creek, West Virginia. Lynn in Long Island, welcome. Cindy in Florida. We have Vatia, Vilma, Aliana, Michael, Vicky, together with Antatella Venta, Eric in Detroit, Crystal, welcome. Marilyn in Texas. Beautiful. Hayden in Amsterdam. Okay. Well, folks, today we finished the 25th letter. And as we explained yesterday, anger can only be used to correct a situation where the situation could be corrected. Otherwise, anger, there's no place for it. Correct an immoral behavior where you can correct it. Otherwise, when anger usually is expressed is because something happened to us that we don't like, so we're saying that God wasn't there, that's tantamount to idolatry, as we explained. I know we went into great length yesterday on this topic. The Alter Rebbe now continues to discuss, where he doesn't openly bring out the point that there were, just to give you the historical background, the Baal Shem Tov founded the Hasidic movement. He brought a new vitality to Jewish life, to Jewish teachings, that traditional religious Jews questioned. Not only questioned, were actually adamantly opposed to. What's this? All this, the singing and the dancing and the merriment was people, that was not traditional. Traditional is you sit and learn, you are very, I don't know what the word is. Oh, my daughter Esty is on. Okay, welcome Esty. You're very, it's very much about your personal journey. It wasn't so much a collective thing. It was very stoic, very, harsh, difficult times that people were going through, and the way they dealt with it was inside. Yeah, I know righteous indignation might be a good word. Thank you, Stan. Could be definitely part of it. So here's the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov that they seized upon. That he said, as we mentioned, the example that he gives of a heathen, uncircumcised heathen, that is disturbing the Jew that's praying. And disturbing not because, can you give me the directions to the market? No. Disturbing because he doesn't want him to pray. Doesn't want him to engage in what he's doing. Right? Again, this is the example. So do you get angry? Disrupting my holy activity? That would be righteous indignation, but that would be not accepting what's happening that is coming from God. Can you get angry at him to change his ways? No, because we're talking about a situation where, not doing it to, could you please explain to me what you're doing? Because I really don't get it. No. Doesn't want to get it. Again, that's the example that's being provided here. So therefore, there's no discussion. There's no righteous indignation to have about their lack of morality, lack of respect. So then, what's all of this happening? So as we explained, it's happening in order that you can dig deeper in yourself and find greater powers from within, that you could close off that chatter of that person in order that you can pray much more deeply. Much more deeply. That's what we explain. So they seized on the words that he said that in the heathen is dwelling the divine presence. How could you say that? Say, evil person. So the Alter Rebbe yesterday explained that it doesn't mean, it was a mistranslation from the Yiddish that the Baal Shem Tov spoke in, translated into the Hebrew, saying sharsa, which means that dwelling, the divine presence of God is dwelling within the heathen. It means the Slavsha was enclosed, meaning enclosed but in concealment. Sharsa would mean revealed. So when you're doing something good, something godly, the presence of God is revealed. When you're doing something evil, the presence of God is concealed, in exile. And that's what it means. That's what we explained yesterday. Now, the Alter Rebbe continues and says, well, it would seem to me that, again, he only doesn't even mention the whole issue, the whole debate. he just kind of alludes to it, that those who were, and he doesn't say opponents, but they're just seizing upon a passage that it wasn't really prompted because of the lack of a proper word. That's not what caused it. It says, yeah. Excuse me 1 second, I just realized. It says it wasn't prompted because of that. But they have the very difficulty is, how is it possible the Shekhinah, the divine presence of God, could be invested in Klippa? How could any negativity have divinity in it? So he says that they don't believe in the teachings of the Arizal, Rabbi Isaac Luria, right? That it's written in Sefer Gilgulim, this notion that everything comes from God. There aren't two forces, right? That's pure idolatry in Judaism. The force of Godhood and the force of Satan, negative forces. And that's how most people understand, two different forces, because that kind of makes sense. And that's why you're always fighting the bad guys, right? All those TV shows and movies, fighting the bad guys, because there's two forces. Here there's only one force, it's the force of God. One is revealed countenance of God in a person when they do good. That's how they get their vitality. And the other is coming from Klippa, from the negative force. So the Shekhinah is there. Now you want to make they want to make a distinction between spiritual negativity forces and physical idolaters, heathens, that there should be a distinction. Well, we see that in the physical of this world, as the Arizal explains, who's the father of modern day Kabbalistic teachings, that even in the dust of the earth, you have vested in it the Sphira of Malchus, of Asiya, of Malchus, in the world of Asiya, that inside of it is Yitzira, Bria, Atzilus. Ultimately, the Shekhinah is there. Yes, again. Now, it is there in the physical of the world. They can't fathom the idea. How could it be that an evildoer, heathen, that's evildoer, how's it possible that there could be the divine presence there? Well, even that heathen comes as a result of a union in the divine between the masculine and the feminine, the feminine attribute of Malchus and the masculine attributes of Zoh, of the six emotions. So in everything of creation, the Shekhinah is vested in there. So yes, even that heathen. Now, even though this whole concept of how the Shekhinah could be invested in, such a negative place, we need extensive elucidation, right? But so is the fact. And the truth is, their complaint isn't to the Baal Shem Tov about his teachings. It should be to the Arizal. The Arizal lived in the 1500s, Baal Shem Tov lived in the 1700s. And the Alter Rebbe says, I'm only really coming to explain the Baal Shem Tov's teachings based on the Arizal. And if they have a complaint, they have to go to the Arizal. And the Arizal's teachings are accepted by all. Just like the Talmud, for example, is accepted by all. Right? That it's, Jewish, the basis of Jewish law. So likewise, the Arizal, when it comes to Kabbalistic teachings, mystical teachings, it's accepted by all. So the argument is with them. But the Alter Rebbe says the truth is that this is not even Kabbalah. This is not even mystical teachings. I mean, mystical teachings explains it more so. But this is even revealed to us and to our children. And we are Ma'aminim b'nei ma'aminim, we're believers, true believers. As the verse itself says in Yirmiyahu and Jeremiah, do I not fill the heavens and the earth, says God? Meaning, he fills it all. Not that he's filling, 99% of heaven and 80% of earth. No, do I not fill heaven and earth, meaning all. And the verse doesn't depart from its simple meaning, right? God fills all the space, spiritual, material, whatever kind of material space, holy place, unholy place, God fills it. This is an article of faith that actually the Jewish people kind of never questioned. We walk artlessly with God for generations with this notion. God's presence is everywhere. And not needing to have an intellectual understanding of it. But now, more recently, we come to rationally to try to understand it and to understand it mystically, right? And we take from the Arizal's teachings in order to be able to do that. Concludes the Alter Rebbe that this is a very deep and profound idea, and it's impossible to explain it clearly in writing. Only orally, an ear that hears and understands to a uniquely qualified individual, right, who seeks to, those who seek God, they will understand. And from the affirmative, you'll understand the opposite. In other words, if you're just looking for a debate, not looking to understand the ways of God, no, you're not going to get it. Right? But some people like that. Many people like that. So he says, look, this is one passage that's taught by the Baal Shem Tov, and there is very deep understanding in it. All of his teachings are like that. This is just a sample. And if you have a problem with it or with anything else, let my esteemed readers know that this is an extensive labor, impossible to put into writing. But if there is somebody, he's speaking to their camp, someone, meaning an individual who's outstanding, an appropriate individual from your community, I'm ready to speak to them about it face to face. And may God be my mouth as I speak, and may the words of my mouth find favor. The end. So interesting, just something to point out, how the Alter Rebbe deals with, those who are contending against his teachings, or his teachings are based on the Baal Shem Tov, and the Baal Shem Tov is based on the Arizal, right? So, and how does he deal with it? Very gently, not in your face, to battle against them. Not at all, right? And giving the argument strongly, but not making an issue, because if it's a real argument for the sake of heaven, then you don't need to bash. Just interesting. To me, in a way, a side point. It's not the major point over here, but interesting point. All right, any questions? Two question marks before. And if you put it in red, it makes it even clearer, like Davida does. Is there a difference between a Jew being angry or a Gentile being angry? Is it for the same reason or for both? Is it worse to be angry against a fellow Jew as opposed to a Gentile? Well, for a Jew, it's probably worse to be angry because of the nature of being a Jew. So it would be worse for the Jew themselves. Anger is part of the human condition, right? And the unity that the Jew is attuned to by the nature of the soul is a more profound one, that therefore if they do something against that, it becomes even worse. That's why Torah speaks about Jews doing, bad things, and what's gonna not following the ways of Hashem, and that's destructive. The more, think about it, the more clean you are, the more the speck of dirt is going to stand out. If the clothes aren't so clean, so then another speck is not going to make such a difference. So the Jew, and what we are obliged to be and to act, is a different level of expectation from heaven. To be a light unto the nations, not just for yourself, but for all humanity. So therefore, anger that would come from a Jew is much worse than it would come from a non-Jew in that respect. Yeah. There's a greater, that is a generality I'm making, right? Of course. Yeah, you have a Jewish child versus an adult non-Jew, just, person to person, so to speak. Yeah, an adult that gets angry, very different than when a child gets angry. It's a child. Now we try to teach them, but of course it's not getting angry at a Jew. If a Jew gets angry at a Jew, then it's a much greater degree of separating yourself from a soul that is connected with you, and therefore, in a sense, worse. Yeah. But again, I don't know if comparison is an important. I don't think it's an important thing. Personally, I don't think it's an important thing. I think what's important is dealing with our own anger. That's what I think is important. Okay. Thank you, Davida. I don't see anything else. Any other questions? All right. We will continue our conversation. Sunday, don't forget, TRC, Sunday night, 8 p.m. Also 6:30, there will be Torah portion, Lech Lecha. I want to mention something that I need to mention often with you. This is a year called Hakel, a year of gathering. Times in the Holy Temple, the king would gather the Jewish people at the end of the sabbatical year, going into the 8th year. That's where we are. Gather, and to bring them closer to Hashem. So this is a year gathering. The gathering can be done online, as we're gathering here. But I urge that this is a year of gathering. Gather family, gather friends, to bring them a step closer to Hashem, to doing another mitzvah. And there's great blessings that will come with this. Great blessings. More we'll discuss. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zich in Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have a great day and an amazing good Shabbos. Be well.